Hey, welcome to the Coterie Club. We're new to this thing. We're just trying to get this thing off the ground. What we are is we're just fans of the Consumer Club. I'm wearing my Consumer Club consumer shirt here, and we just love the Consumer Podcast. And we're fans of Greg Warren, Tim Convy, and Sean O'Brien. And so we're starting from the very beginning. We all went back and watched the very first episode, and I wanted to introduce my co-host. My name is Nathan Taylor. I'm from Columbia, Kentucky. Been a fan of the Consumer Podcast from day one. So over to you, Amy.
I think I stumbled upon hearing about the consumers on one of Greg's visits to the Nateland podcast, and it was very intriguing to me because I've always been really fascinated by marketing and branding and all that kind of stuff. And Greg's whole special about peanut butter had me cracking up, and I was really fascinated by all of the background stuff he would share. So as as soon as I heard about this one, I said, "Sign me up!" And then, instantly just fell in love with the other two guys, and I'm having a blast watching these guys.
All right, and then we have Mookie.
Hey everybody, I'm Mookie Blaylock. I have been a member of the Coterie before it was the Coterie, just like these guys. From day one, I started watching the episodes. I was really excited when I found out that Greg was doing a podcast because I was a big fan of his, just from seeing him on Nateland, and then I saw his special. And when I found out he was doing a podcast, because I was one of those people that anytime Greg was on the podcast, it was one of my favorite ones. So I was really excited when he started doing a podcast, and the fact that he was doing it about brands really didn't matter to me. But now I've gotten to the point where I get really interested in the brand and really get interested in the things that they talk about with it. I didn't know much about Tim, and I didn't know much about Sean. And I know the podcast started from this idea or this thing that Greg used to do on the Bob and Tom show, where he would
Hmm.
come in and he would do kind of like a minute or like a quick hitter about a brand specifically. And I've never heard any of those. Have y'all ever stumbled on any of those from that show?
Now,
No.
I actually live where Bob and Tom are, and I used to be a huge fan, but I hadn't listened for many, many years. And then I kind of was bummed out when I heard Greg had been on, and I hadn't been listening anymore.
Yeah, it's funny because they actually had that show up in Chicago, which is where I'm from, which is why, even though I'm from Columbia, Kentucky, I do not have a Columbia, Kentucky accent. I have an Illinois accent. So anybody out there who says you're from Columbia, Kentucky, but you don't say "oh," that's true. Um, I I heard, yeah, I watched, I listened to a little bit of Bob and Tom, but not a lot, and definitely not when Greg was on there because that's been a number of years ago because they've been on the air for a very long
30
time.
something years.
Really
Yeah.
long time. Yeah, they've been on the air for a long time. Nathan said where he's from. I am in Bowling Green, and I am Bowling Green, Kentucky. I am not wearing a consumer shirt. I'm wearing a Western Kentucky Hilltopper shirt and also pajama pants under my desk. So just in case anybody was wondering.
I'm digging on Zoom. You only have to be presentable from the waist up. Uh, I'm
That's
up here in Indianapolis, so
Go Colts.
we're not too far, but different time zones we're learning as we connect.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have to figure out that time zone thing. But you know what we don't have to figure out is our love for the consumer podcast. And so we're starting from ground zero, from the very first episode. The first episode was on Dunkin Donuts. And I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, um, I'm not a fan of their donuts either. They said that on the podcast, and this morning, no lie, I made Dunkin' coffee because I get the stuff from the store and I make it because I love that coffee. And there's not a Dunkin' in my little podunk town. I have to drive 30 minutes just to go to get some Dunkin' coffee. So next best thing, Walmart.
Hmm. The coffee is great. The donuts are horrible. I thought about going by there today to get a donut just because I knew that we were doing this, but then I remembered how they tasted and decided not to go buy one. I am a Krispy Kreme man all the way.
Nice. Ooh, shout out to another episode that we're going to do later on there.
We'll get there.
Right?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, you,
Right.
Amy.
I'm a local donut shop person. I am also not a fan of Dunkin'. They're It's been several years since I've had one, but every time I have one, I'm like, oh, I'll try it again. And every time I don't know if it's stale or what, but there's just not a lot to them. And I'm not a coffee drinker, so I really can't weigh in on that.
Mm.
But yeah, not a fan of the donuts. And I forgot how, after rewatching now, I forgot how early on Tim said, nope,
Hmm.
not a fan.
Yeah.
Coffee's great. I love their drip coffee. There's not a lot of places that have just like a really good black coffee. Dunkin' has a really good black coffee, and they have a lot of really good flavors too. But just their black coffee is fantastic.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I just had some this morning. So, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot actually. It's funny because I watched this podcast probably a year ago when it came out, I do believe, or shortly thereafter. And um, it's hilarious just to see the interaction, and how that all started between those guys. They obviously were friends beforehand, and specifically the relationship between Greg and Sean. I just find that hilarious, and it just started
Mhm.
out with sparks flying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like it was the first podcast. It seems like you can take this first podcast and drop it into any of the other 475 episodes that we've had so far, and and it just picks right up. I mean, we start fast with the why and the logic, and then it never stops.
Yeah.
I yeah, I have to agree. I feel like they've been doing this for years. I did just from having seen the more recent ones and this, I noticed a little bit of tentativeness as you can just kind of tell they're trying to work out their dynamic, but their friendship dynamic just pretty much takes over.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
especially with Greg. I think he's really trying to figure out what he wants it to be. And
mhm.
there's another, I think on one of the other podcasts, and I can't remember which one it is, but I think Greg talks about the fact that they recorded something different before and they took it to Nate, and Nate was like, nope, that's not going to work. And so they had to kind of come back and rework what they were doing. And he may have been a little bit apprehensive about, is this going to work? Is this going to be what the production team wants? Is this going to be what Nate wants? And I think they figured it out. It was a really it's just going, like I said, just going back and watching that first one. It just seemed like they'd been doing it for as long as long as they have been now. So
One thing that really struck me was that I guess I wasn't listening because, like, when you re-listen to it, the fact that it really took me, like, the fact that Tim Convy was a famous star from a punk rock band called Ludo. And he said that from the get-go. He didn't like and I guess I didn't hear that. It's so funny because, like, going back and listening to this and watching it like from the beginning again, it was really good for me because I'm like, wait, he did say that he was a part of that band
hmm
Ludo. And until he actually talked about that in a much later episode, which we'll get to, I don't know why it just didn't like connect with me. And they're telling them about themselves, like every one of them is talking about themselves and kind of their background. And by the way, we're not comedians here. I forgot to say that in my intro, which I will say in the future. So if anything we say is funny, it's just because we've been around these guys actually, and they make us laugh.
yeah, we're
Right?
just regular people.
Right.
But speaking about the thing that you were just talking about, the other thing that I noticed was Sean talking about Creed Aventus. I had never heard anything about
Yes.
Creed or anything about that company or those fragrances, and I'm not a cologne guy. So I didn't know anything about that. And so when we get to the Creed Aventus episode, that was the first time I thought I'd ever heard of anything about it
Huh.
until I went back and rewatched this one today, and that's
Yeah.
one of the
Mhm.
first thing he says. It's like I'm a big fragrance guy. I'm a big fragrance guy. Love Creed, love Creed. That's my terrible Sean impression.
I think it's really funny because I've had the idea in my head that the dynamic between these guys is such that I see Greg as the almost like the substitute teacher that's just trying to keep things rolling and just trying to stay above water each day. And the other two guys are either the class clowns or the kids with ADHD just riffing off of each other. And sometimes as we go on, you'll see more. But even in this, I can kind of see Greg like, Okay then. All right, boys, we're coming back. And him always trying to bring him back to the middle and always trying to be like I don't know if he's trying to be the Nate Land brand guy or what, but he kind of has this have to keep everybody in lineness about him.
You mean
And
like
the
the
other two
Brian
are like,
Bates,
yeah, whatever. Pardon?
like the Brian Bates of the consumer podcast?
Right. Like he's trying to keep it in order, trying to, not step out of line, and it's just kind of funny that that carries through a lot.
Do you think that's different as the episodes go on? I mean, I know we're just talking about this one today, but I feel like in this one he was really trying to keep everybody on track and trying to make sure it went well. I feel like he's a lot more loose for today's episode. Today is the 24th. Well, so an episode released today. I feel like the episode that released today versus this one, he's a lot more loose and a lot more relaxed and a lot more trying to play into the bits that they're doing.
I think he is, but he's still the guy that is kind of keeping his mind on on the I'm not exactly sure what, but he's kind of still the one trying to keep it all in order.
Okay.
Because I still think through episodes there are times where if he would let Tim and Sean go, they could go on for hours just riffing on each other and pulling Randy in and all that kind of stuff. But Greg is just like, come on, guys, bring it back in. It just makes
And
me giggle because I see that as like a substitute teacher, like, come on, guys, can we just do this? We all know we need to, you know.
mhm,
No, no, because some of the best moments are when things go completely off the rails. And
I
that,
that's very
agree.
true.
yeah. And it, it went off the rails right away with Sean today just ranting about the HOA,
The
you
Yes.
know,
why and the logic, which
the why.
I feel like that hasn't been around for a while. I feel like
It
we
No.
hasn't.
haven't talked
No.
about that a lot, but that is such a funny bit.
Hmm.
And they really I feel like they stick on because that's going to come up in later episodes too, and they hit it hard this time as well. But the why and the logic, man, that was that's kind of what started the for me. That's kind of what started the uh, the the backstory of Sean. Like that just kind of cements what he's going to do for the episodes and kind of the person and the role that he's going to play. It's
Hmm.
just he's gonna be there for the brand and he's gonna talk about the brand, but when he has a chance to go just completely and totally unhinged, it's gonna be a fantastic episode
For
every
sure.
time.
Yeah, that's definitely it. It's like, because you can Wikipedia this stuff, yourself. So it's not really about the brand itself. I mean, it's good to learn about it, and sometimes you're like, hey, I'm going to check that out, and sometimes you're like, yeah, I'll just skip that one. But hey, it's good information. But I sure did laugh an awful lot, and I think that was the thing
Hmm.
that I laughed an awful lot about it. And um,
I'm
everybody
totally
know.
I'm totally with him on the HOA, by the way. I'm totally with him. I will if the world goes the way that Mookie Blaylock wants it to go, I will never live in an HOA ever.
Amen. That's my plan too.
Yeah, I've never lived in HOA, so I don't even know anything about it whatsoever. I live right now. I'm not even in city limits. I'm like a stone's throw away from the city limits, so I don't even have like those rules and stuff like that. And and so just having an HOA telling you can't put something out on your front lawn or whatever, or you can't use the pool because it's at like he said after a certain time. I'm like,
Right.
like whose responsibility is this? Like, that to me is just that's not a good time.
No, no, it is unfun. And I think it's funny because the whole pool thing, anybody that's been in any sort of apartment complex or anything else, they usually know that there are specific times of the year and stuff like that. But I just love his passion for the fact that it's stupid. And it is stupid, but it's still the rule. And boy,
it most certainly is stupid. That's a good explanation for it.
but
Yeah,
That is a good explanation
him
for it.
getting fired up just brings me the weirdest amount of joy because he's just on fire when he gets going. He's hysterical.
Yeah, speaking of Sean, I mean, he did claim in this. So we do know the answer to this, but I don't think we should say anything about this. But he said he was going to get the Duncan Black card. That was his mission. So he was pivoting away from the HOA, and
Hmm.
Greg had given him a new mission.
Right.
Because he said he couldn't get it, and Sean's like, bet
Oh,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
get this
get it.
mission. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get it.
And
You
that
don't
and
even
that
you don't even
that
realize what
passion,
I'm capable of. You don't know what I'm willing to do.
right? And that passion carries itself through too with a bunch of other brands as well. So
Right.
Yeah.
it's fun to watch the genesis of some of these things that we've grown used to watching in COD.
Speaking of coffee, I know Amy, you're not a fan of coffee, but um, Starbucks versus. I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was cool because they're comparing Dunkin' to Starbucks. In my opinion, there is no comparison.
Yeah, I think that Starbucks, I will say one thing about Starbucks. Starbucks has a coffee called Siren Sound.
Hmm.
The Siren Sound coffee is fantastic. If you can ever find it in the whole bean, if you can ever find it even already ground, it is a fantastic blend of coffee. And I don't know what they do. I don't know how you make coffee. I know it grows. I know you dry it out and then you roast it and then you grind it up and you make bean soup, which we call coffee. The Siren Sound coffee that Starbucks has is fantastic,
Hmm.
but they never have it for you to buy in the store.
Hmm.
They always brew Pike Place, and Pike Place is a dark roast, and it's
Garbage.
burnt, and it's nasty. And if you, I mean, if you like frilly drinks, here's the thing. If you go to, and y'all stop me if I'm talking too much, but if you go to Starbucks and you get like a white chocolate vanilla latte, there's so much sugar and flavor in that that you're not going to be able to tell the difference between it and like a white sugar vanilla latte from Dunkin Donuts. But
Even
when
Amy
you're
would
just
like that.
yeah, but if you're just talking about straight coffee, whether you take it with milk, you take it with a little cream, or you take it black, the Dunkin' blend of coffee and the way that they roast it and the way that they grind it, however it is that they do, if you're going in to buy drip coffee, Dunkin' Donuts is better by far. Like it's not, there's not even a comparison. There's coffee, which is from Dunkin', and then mud water, which is from Starbucks, the Pike Place. Now, if you're going to throw a bunch of junk in it, it doesn't matter. But if you're just trying to drink coffee, you want Dunkin' over Starbucks every day.
Well, here's a wrinkle in this that maybe neither one of you know because this is a more of a northern thing because this company came out of Minnesota and they tried to beat Starbucks at their game and they put thousands, I don't know, hundreds, I'm saying thousands, but hundreds of stores, the Caribou coffee.
Hmm.
And Caribou was
I've heard
based
of
out of
that.
Minnesota and they had store like they had one in my town. And if I picked between Dunkin' or Starbucks because you couldn't go into Dunkin'. I don't feel like you could have like a conversation with somebody, and that's the thing that Starbucks has over Dunkin' and Spades.
The
But
atmosphere. Yeah.
yes, but the
Hmm.
atmosphere is comparable between a Starbucks and a Caribou. But the Caribou coffee is by far greater, and you can't find it anywhere except for in Hy-Vee grocery stores, and no one knows that because they're from Iowa and you can buy it online at caribou.com. Shout out. There you go. If that one person, myself, who's editing this video that watches this video will know that.
for the
There
for
you
the
go.
half dozen people that actually watch this, they know where to go
Yeah,
get Caribou coffee.
there you go.
Our tens of fans.
Right,
The
or tens of fans.
tens and tens of fans.
Maybe my mom and dad will watch this and say, "Hey, good job." Um, but yeah, that's. I mean, I like the fact that with Dunkin', it's just I don't know, it's a cool brand to learn about because I've always been fascinated with the one thing is that they perfected was the franchise. And I
Hmm.
thought that
Hmm.
was cool to learn about that. And I totally forgotten that. Like they predated McDonald's because everybody thinks that McDonald's is the one that invented the franchising. It wasn't them. So
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the that was the most interesting thing about the backstory of Duncan to me is not only are we talking about this coffee company and this sometimes almost maybe a donut company, but we're talking about the beginning of franchising of here is a store, we're going to quality control the ingredients and try to quality control the service. That's the great thing about McDonald's, and we're not talking about McDonald's today, but the thing about McDonald's that everybody loves, everybody knows it's bad for you, everybody knows that it's terrible, but when you go to McDonald's and you order a double quarter pounder with cheese, you're going to get the same thing every time.
A
And
heart attack?
Hmm.
that's, yeah, you're going to
Yes.
get one of those. You're going to get one of those, but it's going to taste fantastic. It's going to taste fantastic going down. And you know exactly what it's going to taste like.
Hmm.
And the idea that Dunkin' Donuts started this thing where you could take something that's supposed to have a hometown feel, scale it up, and be able to send it to so many different places. I couldn't even begin to think of how to do that. And it all started from a guy illegally selling ice chips
And
at a
horse
horse
track.
race.
Well, I don't know.
I would also say I've tried other stuff at Starbucks. I have not found a single thing that I have liked there.
Hmm.
I Everything has, I can taste the tiniest bit of coffee. Everything has a coffee flavor, and I'm a milk chocolate person, and even their hot chocolate is dark. And so I haven't had Dunkin's hot chocolate, but I haven't found a single thing at Starbucks. So well, I do like their lemon loaf, but we'll get to Starbucks later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and I kind of chuckle when, when we talk about the quality of the donuts, because a former coworker used to call it Drunken Donuts, because that's where he would always go when he was drunk for food, because it didn't matter how it tasted. So I always
Well,
thought I didn't even know it was really a coffee company for the longest time. I just knew it for donuts. So
well,
that part was interesting to me.
when I want a good cup of coffee, I search out a good cup of coffee. But when I just want to inject caffeine straight into my veins, I'll go with the first place that I see. So I go to Starbucks a lot. We have a lot of local coffee chains. And we have a lot of local coffee shops in Bowling Green too. And then we've got these drive up coffee places as well, which we don't
57,
have to talk about. We don't have time, like Seven Brew,
7
scooters, and things like that.
Those are just popping
So
up around me.
so if I want to just inject coffee, if I just want to inject caffeine straight into my veins, it doesn't matter where I go. But if I'm looking for a good cup of coffee, I'm not going to Starbucks.
Yeah. The only thing else that my wife used to get, and I got it too with her, we split it, was a everything bagel with garden cream cheese on it. And actually, it was toasted and split, and that was pretty good from there. But that isn't a
Mhm.
donut.
No,
Hmm.
I think that's why they took donuts off the title. So another interesting thing, they brought up Mr. Donut.
Yeah.
Did had you guys ever encountered a Mr. Donut? Because I think they have them in my hometown growing up. I was up in
Really?
northern Indiana,
Wow.
Okay.
and I vaguely remember a Mr. Donut, and I think I even thought then that that was better than Dunkin'. Um, well, they talked about the time to make the donuts guy. I love the part about the marketing and
Mm-hmm.
the ads and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about the time to make the donuts guy, and what makes me giggle is when we get up and we have a day that we know is just going to be grueling, or we have to kind of drag ourselves into work. We're like, all right, time to make the donuts. We just know because
Hmm.
he's conveyed so well in this episode that that guy just was all right. Here we go, and that just kind of makes me chuckle because 30, 40 years later, we're still using this joke and we're still making this comment that says something about some of their marketing.
Hmm. Well, I had never encountered a Dunkin' Donuts until I was in college. The little town that I grew up in was an hour away from anything. So I knew nothing. I knew nothing about donuts except for the little coffee shop that was in my hometown, and there was a Krispy Kreme about 45 minutes away.
Hmm.
Now, when I got to college, there were a bunch of buddies of mine that really liked Dunkin' Donuts, but the closest one to us, I went to my first failed attempt at college was at Faulkner University in Montgomery, Alabama. My buddies loved Dunkin' Donuts so much that they would drive to Noonan, Georgia from Montgomery, Alabama, which is like a 4 hour drive, just to go to
That's
Dunkin'
wild.
Donuts. And they begged me, Mookie, you got to go to Dunkin', man. You got to come with us. I'm like, okay, I'll go. I'm not going to class anyway. Skipping class, I might as well go to Dunkin' Donuts. We got in the car. We drove to Dunkin' Donuts. I bit my donut and I said, we just drove 4 hours for this. And I didn't drink very much coffee at the time. But yeah, I was sorely disappointed the first time I had a Dunkin' Donuts. And I've been sorely disappointed every time I've eaten one since.
Hmm. I think it's also funny that this episode we get introduced to Sean and his $2 bill, obsession.
Y'all
Yes,
saw him on the cruise. Did y'all give him a $2 bill?
I didn't have any.
I didn't,
Oh.
but I did see him at a show over Thanksgiving, and I gave him some shirts to have the guys sign and to send back to me, and I gave him shipping money and $2 bills in an envelope.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
cool.
cool.
That's really
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, but that just kind of I didn't realize how much had come up in this episode that we've kind of has kind of followed through.
And that's really the biggest thing about this is that just coming back is like, yeah, like everything was in there. Even some of the brands that have come since then
Hmm.
have all been started from that episode, like in what they were talking about. I think we need to switch over now to Amy's corner on maybe going over some Sean's rant here.
Yeah, I think the rant on the pool hours and the HOA, I know that's the beginning of, that's not the first rant we're going to hear from Sean, and we already talked about how entertaining those tend to be. Um, but it really kind of brings him out and kind of amps up, even though it takes it completely away from the brand. But as we saw in this episode, as we will continue to see, sometimes it takes them a good while to get to the brand because they're having such a good time riffing on each other, um, which is a lot of fun. And the another thing that I really was entertained by that came up was Greg's his hard and fast rules. You can't do, if you lined up all of the blah blah blah, it
Mhm.
would wrap this far around the world or it would go this far.
Which
And
it doesn't take them very long to break that rule, though, if I remember correctly. I think
no,
Tim
it
does
doesn't.
something. Tim does something within the next 10 episodes, and Greg's like, that was the one thing that I told you not to do. One of the two things.
Which makes it that much funnier to me. And then now they have, I feel like they have abided by the no, National Donut Day or National whatever day that he says we're not going to play that game, we're not going to do that and figure all that out. That one I think seems to have ridden, but I think Tim has a good time dropping in the little nuggets here and there that just to get at Greg, and it works every time. So they know each
Perfect.
other's buttons and push them well.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. So now we're gonna wrap this up because Mookie is a hat guy. And so we're going to wrap this up. He's wearing a hat right now. We're not wearing hats. I do have hats that I wear, and I may break out some hats, but we're going to do Mookie's Corner about hats.
All right, now stop me if I'm going too long because I have a lot to say and I'm going to try to do it really, really quick. First of all, I want to show you the hat that I'm wearing. This is a new era. I think it's a 5950, but I may be wrong about that. This is our local baseball team, single A baseball team affiliated with the Tampa Bay Rays. This is the Bowling Green Hot Rods. This is kind of a newer style hat where they're doing kind of the white front and a different color back, and I really like those white panel hats, and that's kind of like the hat that Sean was wearing today when we watched the episode. He was wearing a backwards hat this time. I don't think I've seen him wear a backwards hat any other time, and maybe I'm wrong
One
about that.
only.
But normally when he's wearing a hat, he's wearing it front, and He obviously didn't put any thought into the hat that he was wearing today because he just grabbed a faded Yankees hat and put it on backwards, but it was still one of these kind of like white panel hats, and it was fitted. It had Yankees on the back, and you could see it from the front. So it's still a really cool hat. You can just tell that he's had that hat for a long time and hadn't taken very good care of it. Tim's hat, on the other hand, he has taken care of, and it was just kind of it was a kind of a straight black hat. I couldn't tell if it was fitted or not. I don't know if I ever got a I never got a look at the back of it, but it looked like it was kind of foamy. I have a hat that's very similar. This is my one of my Indiana hats, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's kind of a foam on the inside of it,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
Yeah.
so it's kind of foamy. It doesn't fit right on top of your head. That was kind of like his. I could kind of tell that it was foamy because it kind of held its shape. He was repping the Kauai Juice Company, which is very interesting. I didn't know anything about it. I had to look it up. It is a cold press juice chain that is only in Hawaii. There's 3 locations, and it's in Hawaii, and it's all about health and wellness. And they've got like detox things and they've got certain blends of juice that is supposed to help your body and make you feel good, and it's kind of one of those health places. And I just thought that there was nothing more country club than Tim Convy sitting on a beach in Hawaii, drinking a bottle of juice that says "Rejuvenate" on the side of it. Um,
Yeah, but
and
you're talking about Kauai Juice Company. The thing that I think about, there's only 3 locations. I just say road trip.
to
Absolutely.
Hawaii, that's not going to be a road trip. That's going to be a plane trip and a boat trip and all sorts of other
I'm
things
just
too.
saying,
You know
I
what?
got to
I
try it
will.
out for myself. I'll sacrifice myself.
Yeah, I'll take one for the team. I'll go. I'll go for us.
Uh, Greg's hat was by far my favorite today. He had on a red, white, and blue Opryland hat. It had kind of a logo on the front
Hmm.
that was for the Opry. Kind of have he was wearing one of those. His hat was more of the new trucker style, like this
Trucker.
one is right here. That's got the mesh on it, and it was red, white, and blue, and it was a really really cool hat. If I had to pick one of the hats today for myself to own, it would be Greg's, and I could probably just run down to Nashville and find one of those, and I might do it if my wife lets me have a crack at the checkbook pretty soon because that was a really cool hat. So I really liked it, and those are my favorite hats, the trucker hats. Um, some of the fitted hats sometimes don't fit my head very well. I'm kind of like Aaron Weber like that. I have a big head, so I like trucker hats that are adjustable and flex hats, kind of like they have kind of a flexy thing in the inside of them.
Hmm.
And there's a
Hmm.
couple of hats that the guys wear that I think have those in it too. But really like Greg's hat out of all of them today.
Thanks. Well, folks, including me, if you didn't know about hats, Mookie is here for the truth and the logic of hats. So
The why and the logic of
the why
hats,
and the logic. Sorry.
That's right.
I am not definitely not a hat expert, but I am an amateur hat lover.
Well,
So
you
I've
could
got
have
way
fooled
too.
me because right now I'm thinking of Mookie as my hat expert. Next time, I get a hat, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, Mookie," I'm gonna message you and be like, "Hey, bro, what do you think? Is this a good
It's
one?"
it all
I've
sounded good to me. I mean, I was buying it.
I've got way more hats than I need and way few to call myself a connoisseur. I want more. I need more hats. My wife wouldn't tell you that, but I need more hats.
And I was going to add a few more things that I noticed about this before we wind up. Is
Sure.
one, I noticed Sean had a lot more input on the brand this week, but like in early on than we have seen
Yes.
in more recent episodes. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of morphs to what it is. And I wouldn't mind seeing them bring back the what are we consuming? I think they probably made it 5 episodes with that. But
I
I
had
would
a note
love
on
for that
that
to come
too.
back.
I had a note on that too. I was like, wow, what are we consuming? I guess I never remembered that they did that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
There's a
it's
watch and $4,000. Oh wait, okay, okay, never mind. Okay,
that's a different episode.
a different episode. Never mind. All right, cool. Hey, well, we are the Coterie, which means basically and we're going to talk about this more. We're fans of that, but it's like a collective group of people. And to us, we're not a diaper company, but we are a collective of people. You can Google that
Right.
and find that out. And
I don't
so,
know that any of us loves that name, but that's kind of what's stuck. So we'll write it and see.
yeah,
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
it is what it is. So, hey, thanks for watching and see you next time.